Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 47 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd. His name is Scottish McIrish. And Campbell, we do not have time for this bullshit today. There's too much happening.
Oh my God, I know.
This is okay. We rarely. All right, we're a week late. We're a week late because I had a work event and there was a death in the family and I had to go to a funeral. But it turns out that while the death of the family is definitely not a good thing, it's a good thing that we're recording this week and not last week, because we would have a lot less to talk about last week than we do this week. And boy, oh boy, fuckos, get ready for a girthy one, because this is gonna be big.
Every time we've ever complained about not enough stuff happening and being like, oh, I guess it's a quiet period for 40k is kind of being rectified, like, right now.
There is so much shit to talk about, so let's jump right the fuck into the Auspecs, where we talk about what's on our hobby radar. We're going to start with hobby progress. Campbell, I got my 5 intercessors done. I got my first 3 intercessor sergeants with power fists done, and I got my next squad of 5 intercessors primed, assembled, and my next 5 intercessors after that, 3 more power fists, 2 more auxiliary grenade launchers primed and assembled and ready to go. I am so close to double battalion.
Well, you're not gonna need to go double battalion with just intercessors at this point, because you're gonna get a lot of troops coming up real soon.
We'll talk about that. But I just want to thought for a moment, just a quick thought. Double battalion sounds like double Italian.
That's actually my order when I go to Leon's too. So
yeah, you doing? Yeah, like the double Italian, double meat, please. Double cheese also. Don't forget the cheese. All right, double Italian. That's my favorite sub. All right, what you been working on?
All right, well, I was like, man, my hobby progress is looking pretty good. And oh yeah, because we haven't recorded in forever. That's why.
Only 3 weeks. We're a week late.
Yeah. So I've just been working on like tirelessly on character models, really. So there was this thing on like the, I guess, X-Goon, Still Goon, whatever, something awful Discord we're in, where it's called the Goon Bowl Challenge, where everyone painted the Dark Oath Chieftain, Jesus. And I painted mine up, and I had an absolute blast painting the first member of my muscle family. Like, it's just flesh and rust and a magic sword and cloth, and it's a lot of textures I don't really get to play with too much on Space Marine models, which is most of what I'm painting. And that's most of what else I painted, because I finished the squad of intercessors I was working on. I built 5 Hellblasters and started working on them. I started working on the Chapter Ancient, and I also built and painted the Captain and Gravis armor from Dark Imperium. I had a snow day on Monday, and I mean, I had a snow day. I work from home. Who gives a shit? But everyone else had a snow day, so I didn't have shit to do. So after shoveling out like approximately 300 pounds of ice off my driveway, I just got him 80% of the way done and finished the rest of them over the course of the week.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I saw your Dark Oath Chieftain. I saw everybody else's competition models. I definitely had a favorite, but I thought all of them looked really, really good. I thought it was a really cool competition. I wanted to join in, but I just don't have the time to paint miniatures that aren't in my like order of painting.
I mean, this guy is gonna be into a Dark Oath army whenever that gets fleshed out in Age of Sigmar, but the real Dark Oath Chieftains are the friends we made along the way.
Thank you. Very nice. Okay, did you play any games?
Of course not. I was gonna play a game, and then Cody and Dylan came over, and we just drank beer and played Mario Party. But I will be playing Necromunda tomorrow.
That's fine. Drinking beer and playing Mario Party is fine. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's a nice platonic, ideal of a chill hang, but it was not Warham's.
Yeah, so I played a couple of Astratus campaign games over the last few weeks. First one against our friend Gary and his not quite 1,000 Sons. They're the Lost Sons. They started out as 1,000 Sons, but I think they had a disagreement with old Maggie. And so he plays them as Alpha Legion, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're like heavily Egyptian style, as you would the 1,000 Sons. Mostly 30k models, too.
Of course.
Though I don't think he plays 30k.
Oh.
Which maybe he should consider. I don't know. Okay. Well, we played a game.
He shouldn't.
It was, he shouldn't, right? Because it's a bad game for idiots.
He can if he wants to. The choices are valid.
So we played a game. It wasn't very close, unfortunately. The Primaris Marines, when you're fighting Chaos Marines, and the Chaos Marines only have 1 wound each, and you can just like throw intercessor shots down the field without really any thought of overcharging or not. And you're just like, oh, well, look, 4 died. Cool. Yeah,
Yep.
he didn't prioritize killing the Hellblasters first. I meant to say Hellblaster there, not Intercessor shots, but whatever. He didn't.
Intercessors will still do fine.
He didn't prioritize killing the Hellblasters first. The Hellblasters survived unharmed the entire game, and it was. It took him down pretty well. But Gary's such a nice guy and a joy to play against, so it still was a good game. A highlight, though, is I was getting a little, shall we say, aggressive with my my captain, my special character, Shadow Captain Lanius.
I was really hoping you were going to say aggressors. Jesus.
And no, the aggressors did not. Well, no, I did actually get aggressive with them. I actually used Strike from the Shadows to get them into 18-inch range on turn 1 so they could fire twice.
So they could aggress, yes.
Yes. So Shadow Captain Lanius, however, got turned into a spawn through the use of a psychic power. Gary rolled up with his sorcerer right next to Captain Lanius. He was like, all right, I'm going to use this power that can kill him. It went off on boxcars, the double 6 roll. So perils involved, but didn't kill the sorcerer. Then he needed to do 6 wounds. D3 plus 3 was what he was rolling to kill Captain Lanius and turn him into a spawn. And he rolls another 6. Doing a total of 6 wounds, mortal wounds rather. Captain Lanius dies, gets turned into a spawn, and then the spawn gets shot down by his friends.
Okay, so as this is a campaign game, how do you do the mental gymnastics to make Shadow Captain Lanius come back next game? Did they just shove the spawn into a suit of armor they had lying around and hope no one would notice?
No, Captain Lanius was injured. Part of his body, I think his left side of his body was ripped apart by the demonic energies cast by Gary's sorcerer. And the apothecary and tech marines or whatever joined forces and saved his life. And because of that, he has extensive bionic enhancements now.
Oh,
and
nice.
so Rob has told me that Captain Lanius now has -1 movement, -1 advance, -1 charge, but has a 6-up feel no pain save now.
Very
so
cool.
He is slower but somewhat tougher.
Cool. I was kind of hoping he'd get Weekend at Bernie's throughout the entire campaign, but that's also good.
Weekend at Lanius is whatever. So that was an interesting fallout from that. He it was sort of the kind of thing where it was a good game kind of because of that. Because otherwise it would have been a little bit of a beatdown. But Gary got to roll in and turn my guy into a spawn, so that seemed fun for everybody. And then I played a game just the other night, 2 nights ago. This is Friday, the 8th of March when we're recording, against Patrick, who is from the New York side of the Astratus campaign, but he was down for work, and we've got another 750-point game in, and he brought his Space Wolves. And let me tell you, man, this game was a ton of fun. It was the Disruptive Signals mission from Chapter Approved 2018, which is a really fun mission. The Chapter Approved missions are fantastic. I highly suggest you go out and play some right now. Well, after you listen to the podcast and subscribe and go to our Patreon and buy our shirts and do all that bullshit.
In that order.
But it was a totally great game. I ended up winning, and it was Maelstrom cards. But boy, oh boy, it was hard fought. He brought 3 Thunderwolf cavalry guys and with storm shields, and man, those things are tough.
Yeah, no, they're absolute wrecking balls.
Yeah, so they rolled in. My Contemptor had to step up and act as a speed bump. And boy, oh boy, did he act as a fucking speed bump. He tanked 2 entire turns of combat against these Thunderwolf cavalry dudes until it was set up that I could charge with Lanius and finish them off and shoot them down and all that good stuff. I ended up winning 10-4. It was an extremely good game, and there were more consequences since this was an interplanetary game, somebody coming from the other area to an area and playing. We got to play a special mission with special consequences.
Cool.
So I got the option at the end of the game I had discovered this piece of technology, we'll call it. It's like a puzzle box, but made of bone, and had the option to attempt to solve it, hold on to it, or destroy it. And, well, within the fiction of the campaign, Captain Lanius, one of his big council guys, is Chaplain Passerus, and Chaplain Passerus convinced him to destroy it rather than attempt to solve it or keep it to see what happens later with it. So that effectively scores me a campaign victory point. And the rest of the campaign group was somewhat upset with me that I didn't open the puzzle box and try to solve it. But the reasoning,
Hellraiser?
The reasoning being Captain Lanius has been touched by the warp before, did not enjoy it after being turned into, or at least part of him turned into a spawn, and he has no love for warpcraft. But interestingly enough, we wrote some stuff into it that Librarian Coloeus, another one of his council members, is somewhat upset at the missed opportunity of the bone puzzle box. So, hey, narrative campaigns, man, ton of fun.
That sounds great. No, that sounds like a total blast. I wish I was a bit more adjacent to literally anyone taking part, so I could have actually
I have told you many, many times to move to the DC area, yet you still don't.
Seeing how it's like 20 degrees and all the snow in my yard is now iced over, I'm thinking about it.
The old 8-month winter of Boston, Massachusetts. So I've got some fun
right before construction season.
Oh yeah, well that's you can't construct when it's below freezing because concrete won't set. That is knowledge. Okay, I've got some interesting news on the what I'm doing tomorrow front. I'm going to a tournament, a 3-round tournament in a brewery in
so jealous
Delaware. I'm actually driving
I'm not jealous of that, but
I'm driving up in the morning to meet up with Scott and Katie, who we know from Nova, and they are going to give me a ride to Delaware for this tournament. I have to get up pretty early and do this stuff, but I'm very excited.
What brewery is it?
It's Midnight Oil Brewery in Newark, Delaware.
Very cool.
Now,
I hope it's just as nice as Newark, New Jersey.
I believe, while it is spelt the same as Newark, New Jersey, I do believe it is pronounced Newark, not Newark.
That's some very intelligent PR on their part. Well, speaking of Nova, February's White Dwarf has a whole section on Nova, and like the
March's
new White Dwarf. That's March. No, it's February's. March has assassins in the cover, and
there's an entire article about Nova written by Robin Cruddas in March's White Dwarf.
Okay, I thought it was February. It's one I read recently. I liked going through it because I recognized like 2/3 of the people in every photo, and I personally knew like 1/3 of the people in every photo. I'm like, oh, there's Gundam John, there's Katie, there's you, there's the top of my forehead, there's the Sniffin Brothers. It's kind of nice. I can say I've been in White Dwarf now.
Yeah, we both are. It's fun.
We have been featured in White Dwarf.
That's right. Warhammer superstars Stan Boyd and Campbell McLaughlin coming at you live on the ones and twos. All right. So, yeah, I'm very excited about that. I'm actually taking kind of a competitive list to this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to do...
I saw this list. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm going to do...
competitive without being shitty.
A soup list, which is to say 2 battalions, 1 Raven Guard battalion, 1 Steel Legion battalion. And no, I'm not doing Catachans or Cadians or any of the good guard. I'm sticking with my Steel Legion bros, for better or for worse, man. And it's not like a meta buster list, but I think it might confuse people who are playing to the meta.
Very cool.
Because there's nothing over 179 points each unit in the list. There are no what I think would be obvious targets. There's a good amount of redundancy. So I think I'll have some fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to drinking beer and playing Warhammer all day.
Extremely cool. I am jealous of that event. I'm not going to lie.
Well, like I said, if you had only moved down here years ago when I told you to, abandoned your life up there and moved to, I don't know what sort of hovel you could afford down here.
It's probably better than there in Boston. It's expensive as shit here.
All right, well, let's move on to what has got us so excited this week. New stuff. And first on the list, because I want to get out of the way, the Nurgle Rot Spawn is up for pre-order from Forge World for Blood Bowl.
It's ironic that the big guy here is not the big news.
No, he is the Nurgle big guy. He is a pain in the ass to deal with on the pitch, but that is not all that interesting to talk about. We're going to move on to 40K because holy shit, buddy, there's a lot to talk about. Shadowspear is up for pre-order tomorrow, March 9th, and I'm going to buy it. I don't know if you're going to buy it, but I'm certainly going to buy it. I've already got somebody to split it with, and oh, man, we've seen all the models. We've seen some of the rules. It is quite the fucking party, dude.
Oh yeah, it's packed. It's from what I hear, it's $175, which is a bit pricier than like Dark Imperium or the other battle boxes they've released before. But it is three, or it's more than three, but it's a bunch of character models, it's a bunch of like bespoke sprues. I don't mind it, honestly. It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit.
I mean, if you if you have half of it, like I'm going to do, that's what, about $90 for 3 characters, and 13 infantry and 3 jump pack guys. Like,
yeah, think of it as 2 start collecting boxes.
That is a solid deal, really.
Oh yeah. No, I don't mind it. I'm just kind of like, I'm also kind of hemming and hawing over if I do I just split half of it now and just take the Marine half, or do I take the whole thing and like I've talked before about maybe doing like Black Legion or some other Chaos Force.
Though.
I do. The problem is I just have a hell of a backlog, and I'm like, how much should I really add to that right this minute? Because I assume this box will be around for a bit.
Right. So I'm going to buy this. I'm going to pre-order it. I'm going to buy it, and it's going to go directly to the backlog because I have stuff that I want to finish first. And also there's a whole bunch of Necromunda stuff that I need to finish before Cinco de Necro in early May. So that unfortunately, it's going to sit for about a month. Maybe
but
it'll be right.
You'll have some stuff before Nova, though, and I think you're going to be just fine.
Yes, and because I'm not going to be sneaking any of it into Adepticon. I'm not even going to try, even though that one captain, there's some good stuff rules-wise, but we'll talk about that more down the road. Let's talk about the units real quick. So on the Marine side, we've got the Phobos Captain, and honestly, this is my least favorite model from the whole box.
I agree. He looks kind of like Sergeant Tellian after eating a super mushroom from Mario Brothers, but he's got a thigh gap you can drive a train through, and I'm not a really big fan of this model. I think if you put his upper body on different pants, he'd be fine.
Yeah, it's not a great stance he's in. He's sort of in this like wide, like teacher putting their foot up on a chair to explain something important to you stance.
Yeah, he's about to sit on the chair backwards and rap with you about history, I guess.
Yeah, and then he's got a servo skull that is floating by his knee, and it's attached to his knee with the little things. And I do not like that silhouette whatsoever. I think I honestly think it's kind of goofy.
Yeah, he is my least favorite model on the box, bar none.
Right, and he's
still okay.
Looking at the rules, so it turns out he might be the most effective model in the box, but
shit.
Right? Yeah, so whatever. Then we come to the Primaris Lieutenant, or the Phobos Lieutenant, rather, and this is one of my favorite models in the box.
Yeah, he is my favorite model in the box, and I have him in my notes as, you're thinking of a guy with 2 knives. Because he's got a bunch of knives.
Got a lot of knives, yeah.
And like, it's weird, he just has like the special rule. It's like, special rule knife fighter. His 6s hit gooder with knives or something stupid like that. It's so dumb. I love him.
I think it's 6s count as 2 hits in combat, which is not that effective or important.
No, it's not
it's
really where you want him.
AP nothing attacks, so fucking whatever.
But the model
he's such a cool model. He's holding his knife. He's got his special bolt rifle. He's got a visor. He's got the drop veins that their Reavers have. He looks like a bulked up Reaver.
He's also got a hanging miniature knife. That's his knife honor, which I assume is like his car keys.
The good old-fashioned knife boy. Yeah, that's one of my favorite models. Then we come up with the Phobos Librarian.
Yes.
Or as Scott Horace has been calling him, the librarian who studied the blade.
I still call him Tactical Wizard.
Yeah, this guy, I like this model. I think they could have done a better job. The right hand position looks like he's tipping his hat. It's the librarian or whatever.
He also is kind of like, when you're like, your friend's over there and you're like, I'm squishing your head. It looks like he's doing that, except he's got psychic powers, so he's actually doing that.
I'm crushing you right now. Yeah, he's that being said, I do like the model. I think it's cool. We talked about how it cuts down on edges a whole lot because it's got a lot of cloak and leather going on, which is good for speed of painting. And I'm excited to paint him up. We've also seen a couple of powers from him, and he gets a whole new discipline he has access to, and they look extremely good.
I can't pretend I've even retained any of that knowledge, so we can move on from that.
Okay. Then we come up to the Infiltrators, the troop unit from this, and you get 10 of them in the box. And I do not know if I'm going to do a 10-man squad or a 5-man squad. I am leaning towards doing two 5-man squads. but we'll have to see what the data sheet looks like.
Well, I do know that when you get to 10 men, they can take the sort of medic in the squad, and I don't know how useful he is, but he's very cool looking.
Yeah, they have it's like a little apothecary arm brace thing that you can add to a character. Yeah, I don't know. I like the 10-man thing. I don't know. Like
10-man intercessor squads or Primera squads are still weird to me.
10-man, well, there's a very good case to be made for the 10-man intercessor squad, which is you buff them to veterans. So they get one attack more each, and then you can give them the stratagem which makes their bolt rifles rapid fire 2 instead of rapid fire 1. So you could potentially have 40 shots coming out of this squad. So there's a very good reason to have one 10-man intercessor squad in your army at least. But infiltrators, we'll have to see what stratagems they get access to and what sort of fun things they can do. But that seems to me more of a 5-man squad than a 10-man squad. Because,
they seem kind of like little squads you drop around to drop in objectives and camp on them.
Right. One of the cool things with them, too, is they have these Omni Scramblers, and the captain has one of these, too, where deep striking units or units arriving from reserve cannot be set up within 12 inches of them. So they're
like the ultimate screening unit.
Yeah, they are immune to charges off of reserve because you have to set up outside of 12 and you have to be within 12 to make a charge, regardless of your charge distance or your potential charge distance. And it just seems like 3 of them, and they can set up outside of your deployment zone to start. So it seems like 3 squads of those would just be extremely, extremely effective at help screening your units, though they are somewhat less effective at shooting than regular intercessors are. But hey, you know what? We will. I am excited to see how they work. I'm very happy how they look. I think they look extremely cool. But this, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now,
I do think they make carbine reavers totally obsolete, though.
Yes. We're going to talk about that later in the episode. About specifically that topic. So we'll come back to that. They have the Eliminator squad, 3-man squad of Eliminators, which are Primera snipers. And these guys have 3 different ways to shoot their guns, are really cool models. They actually have different heads on the sprues, so you don't have to do the unhooded heads if you don't want to, or at least one hooded head. This might be the unit I'm most excited about.
It's the most on brand for your Raven Guard.
Oh, and certainly.
I do like that they look like I think I mentioned before, they look more like the metal sniper scouts than the plastic sniper scouts. And I mean that only in the best way. Like they look very cool and very functional.
Yeah. I love these guys. They have all sorts of bits and bobs on them. There's a great Voxcast with Jez Goodwin that came out, I think either this week or last week, where he talks a lot about this set. And he mentioned how they have their like ammunition pouch. They have a little shrine right next to it so they can bless their ammunition as they draw it out, which is really cool. Also, if you haven't listened or watched that, fucking go do it. Jez Goodwin is extremely interesting guy, and his voice is like deep purple silk.
Yeah, it's a lot coarser than deep purple silk. It's like crushed velvet.
He is a true wonder to listen to. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the Eliminators, I'm very excited about these. I think they're going to be an excellent addition to Primaris armies. And watch out, characters, because snipers with D3 damage are coming your way sometime soon.
They're not called Eliminators for nothing.
And then we have the Suppressors, which has cut the internet in half on whether people like them or hate them. Though maybe not in half, more like, I don't know, cut a 10th off. And the 10th being of the people that actually like them.
Well, I am glad to be part of the elite 10% here on this podcast. I think they're pretty cool. I actually do like them a lot. I like that they're not quite as bulky as the Inceptors because they have a different battlefield role than the Inceptors do. And from what I gather, they're not like quite as tough as they are because they're not meant to drop in front line and like be shock troops. They're meant to be very mobile troops who can jump around the backfield. And I like that a lot. The only thing I don't like with them is the dumb smoke launchers and the Sergeant. I think, why would I ever want that? I have these 48-inch range autocannons. Why would I ever be like, I want to not shoot that autocannon, actually?
Well, Campbell, to answer your question, if you have a 6-man squad of them, you can sacrifice your shooting out of one of them.
I guess that is true.
Like that, and then it's a -1 to hit until the next shooting phase, I think. And
guess we'll just have to buy 2 Stormspear boxes.
Well, I'm sure they'll come out in multi-port kits at some point. But for Raven Guard, it makes a lot of sense to do that because then you have suppressors who are -2 to hit outside of 12 inches.
Yeah,
and they should be sitting in the back of the thing anyway. So that might be a big target for Chaboy DZ over here. The suppressors, though, okay. Let's talk about the suppressors for a little bit. They are a mix between Reavers and Inceptors. Like the way they look. They have sort of Reaver-style lighter armor, but then they have the Inceptor big boots, the Mario Brothers boots.
Yeah, the Karibo shoe and the jump pack,
they have the veins like both the models do, but they have underslung autocannons. And I am not a huge fan of the way Inceptors look to start with. Especially the multi-part kit Inceptors. There's one of them who's got both of his legs forward and then also both of his arms forward.
He looks like he's farting his way out into space. It's so good. It's the dumbest model.
And I don't like that model. I don't necessarily like their poses that much. With the suppressors, I kind of get that same thing. They kind of look dumb and floaty, and there's just so much going on in these things.
I get that.
And I think
because they have the tactical pouches just like everybody else do.
I think the problem is that they took ideas and elements from the Reaver kit, took ideas and elements from the Inceptor kit, and sort of just smacked it together. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Reavers look great, but the Inceptors don't. And we're coming on you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit problem. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to start.
I've never heard that saying before.
Seriously? You've never heard that one?
I've never heard that saying before.
It's one of my favorite sayings. If you're going to start with half of your design elements coming from a crap kit, like you're only going to get 2 out of 5 stars or 2.5 out of 5 stars, right? Because
I'd be a little more generous than that and say it's a bit of a kitchen sink sort of design where it's just kind of a bit of everything and not all the flavors are necessarily sympathetic, but I don't think it's bad. I think the only failing they have is that they have like these grenades and pouches and pistols, and how are they going to grab them? They have these huge fucking guns. Yeah. How are they going to pull those grenades? Because you need 2 hands to throw a grenade, and there's nowhere for that big-ass gun to go. Yeah. If it was on, like, suspensors, I'd get it, but I love big belt-feed guns.
Or
I love big underslung guns.
Like a bipod or something.
Yeah, I think they would be better without their pouches and stuff like that if you just kind of pared that design element back a little bit, but I think they're cool.
Well,
and also, I liked once I got around actually painting the Inceptors, I turned around them.
Well, I think the Dark Imperium Inceptors, I think, are good. Like the push fit ones you get from Dark Imperium. I think those the poses are good. They're not, they're easy to build. They're easy to deal with. It's the multi-part kit Inceptors I think look like Garbo.
Okay, I haven't.
Well, not Garbo, but they don't look as good. They look a lot. The poses look a lot more unnatural to me. And the suppressor is the same thing. I just think they look kind of unnatural in the way that they're shaped and the way that they're. At least the models we've seen, they're the studio models. Not a huge fan of them. They come with flight stands. I will not be using flight stands.
Yeah, you'll be doing the pro move of mounting them on some garbage.
Yes, exactly. I've learned my lesson. And the thing is, though, if they release more Inceptors, I'm going to have to do Inceptors on flight stands forever because I'm not rebasing my Inceptors. But that's only Inceptors. That's only Inceptors.
I would think about rebasing them. How many Inceptors have you painted?
6.
All right, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I'll have you know it's very easy to break them off those flight stands.
It truly is.
So it won't be hard to rebase them,
I have all
honestly.
of them pinned too, and it's still easy to break those things. But so the suppressors, I don't know, man. I out of 10, I'd give them like a 4.5, 5. I'm not. Okay. I'm gonna use them because they're AP2 autocannons. With. And they can benefit from all the fun stuff that Space Marines can benefit. So they're going to be a very good unit, but I'm not super excited about the models.
Okay.
Let's move to some models that I am extremely excited about, the entire fucking range of. And of course, I'm talking about the Chaos Space Marines that come in Shadowspear. And let's start with the man himself, the Master of Possession. We've talked about this guy, Hellfucker, you've called him.
Dr. McSatan Hellfucker.
Yeah, this is such a rad fucking model. They released a picture of this guy a while ago at one of the Warhammer World events, and everybody was like, whoa, and we didn't know that he was coming in Shadowspear or anything, but man, oh man, this guy is fucking rad.
Listening to Jess Goodwin talk about him a bit more and go through some of the process behind the design behind him, where the idea was to make him look more like kind of a tribal wizard, which is why he's got like all these like skulls and like little bird skulls and charms and stuff. And not just like skulls in the way that literally every Warhammer model and literally every Chaos model has, but like little bird skulls hanging off and like little tribal bones and little rune charm type things, which, you know, it's, I really like that kind of archetype, and I think he's extremely cool.
And we talked about it before. I love the idea of a Chaos Sorcerer who specializes in possession.
Yeah, that's a unique flavor that they have that Loyalists will not get.
The whole leaning into the demonic aspect of the Chaos Space Marines, I like it a lot. I know I know that not everybody does, but as far as ways to differentiate yourself from regular Space Marines, like leaning into the possessed stuff really looks cool. And as far as rules and things go, possessed Marines could be quite a bit tougher than regular Chaos Space Marines. And maybe Campbell, just maybe, in the future, we'll see possessed troop options that have more than one wound.
That would be that'd be a bit nice. That'd be real nice, actually.
That's pure fucking speculation right there. I have no knowledge. I've heard nobody talk about anything like that, but I think that would be an extremely cool way to move forward with Chaos Marines.
Well, I also think it'd be a huge missed opportunity if they have these dope fucking greater possessed models in this box, which are like they're like the Galvor back.
That's what we were going to talk about next.
I love the Bony Boy. I love the Wet Boy. God. They're so fucking cool. But if they are buffing like those janky ass 2007 possessed Marines, those fucking busted possessed Marines they were bad then, and they were only a slight improvement over the metal possessed Marines that came before them.
Gary Morley's.
Yeah, the metal ones were Gary Morley. I don't know who the plastic ones are.
I'm talking about the metal ones were the Gary Morleys. But okay, well, let's move on to the Greater Possessed. There's two of them. They act sort of like lieutenants, like Space Marine lieutenants on the battlefield, as you can take a unit of two and split them up during deployment. They buff demon friendlies, is what they do.
Yeah, they give them like +1 strength or something.
Which is actually pretty fucking gnarly. And they're characters, so they can like hide behind their friendly demon friends and have them charge up and get into combat, and then the possessed roll in, and the Greater Possessed rather, and these guys are fucking monsters in Assault.
Absolutely. I also like that it is a different flavor from just the standard Space Marine Lieutenant, while it's a character of kind of a similar level, because when Chaos Lords come out and they're a Chaos Space Marine Captain, but with a different name. Then there's like aspiring champions who are like lieutenants, and that wasn't really a role that really existed before. It just kind of it didn't feel right. Yeah. It just felt kind of like it was shoehorned in. This feels like a very chaos from the ground up sort of take on that that level
An
of character.
Organic way to create a character that works.
It's actually incredibly organic.
And the models for these things are amazing.
Yeah, see, I didn't used to like the whole possessed aesthetic or like the demon flesh aesthetic when, I was first getting into the game. And I think that's really because the models sucked for it.
They weren't
that great. They're really good. Yeah. They're like, if this is the standard we're looking at for possessed going forward, provided possessed get new models, which I really hope they do, I'm all for it.
Yeah, these things are fantastic. I especially like the Bony Boy.
Bony Boy is my preferred.
Yeah, he's got like a rhino horn. He's got a big claw. He's got a smile on his face. He looks like he's having fun. And that model is absolutely choice. It's really the one Chaos model out of the set that I'm splitting that I'm kind of upset to be giving up, to be honest, because it's a really cool model. But we can move on to the Chaos Marines, the regular troops that come in the box. It comes with 10. They look fantastic.
Yeah, they are finally fulfilling what I've been hoping for since Dark Vengeance came out. And I was actually surprised because some leaks came out and it was like, oh, the squad has 1 chain axe and 1 autocannon and 1 plasma gun and 3 it was very prescriptive. And I was like, well, there's no way that this is the new standard for Chaos Marines. They're going to be the same as they ever were. They have a bunch of options. And that was before I had found out that this whole box was mono build and not true multi-part kits, which bummed me out a little bit, I'll be completely honest, but the ones included in this set look incredible.
Yeah, the models themselves look great, but the issue is that you've got like a set of Marines, you have an autocannon, I think, and a plasma gun, I think, but then you have 4 Marines with chainswords and bolt pistols.
Yeah.
And then 4 or 2 Marines with just bolters, and then your champion who's got a chain axe. And I understand the idea of the chain axe on the champion. That's cool, whatever. But then putting half of your guys as close combat guys in the squad, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I get it also. It's you want to showcase the diversity of the range, and that's what they're doing with these guys right here. It's because it looks really cool. Like, a rule of cool applies to everything in Warhammer, but I think especially to this. But also, I don't know if Chaos Marines will have, like, bolter, bolt pistol, chainsword standard or something like that, like they have had in the past.
Right. And I think that if we're, honestly, man, like, Games
I don't want to speculate too hard.
The Games Workshop way of releasing new models is models first, right?
Right.
The miniatures designers get the first crack at ideas, or really get the only crack at creating new stuff. So the rules writers have to keep up with them. And I think that a lot of the times we as players are not served by that way of going. You know, I think
listen to any Voxcast and you'll have this confirmed.
Yeah, I think that this is a case of the miniatures designers were like, oh, well, I want to make 4 guys with close combat weapons, and everybody else was like, okay, and they're like, no, this is what I'm doing, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't really make any sense, you know, because if you got an autocannon in the squad, like.
You want them sitting.
You want to sit back.
back.
You got a plasma gun. You want to use that stuff, and then you want to support that with bolter fire, and it just. I want Chaos to be good, Campbell. I want people. I want Chaos players to be excited about this set. I want it to fucking fly off the shelves. And this is the kind of thing that I don't think people are not going to buy the set because of this squad. Mm-hmm. I want people to be excited about it, and this makes me kind of like think to myself, like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Well, also, don't forget you can just do 2 5-man squads. And have one with the autocannon and the bolters, and like 1 chainsword guy as the sergeant.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
chainsword guys and plasma pistol the second squad. This is splitting hairs. What we're getting at is the models are dope.
Yeah, the models are really, really good. That all of our complaining aside, the models are excellent. And I know that you're excited about potentially doing Black Legion in the future. And I know that our friend Carl from the Independent Characters, who gave us a shout out on his last show, by the way.
Yeah, I love it's like, I'm finally going to shout out, and they're shouting out my sanitation trips for when you travel. Don't touch your eyeballs after carrying any bin at an airport.
It's so important that we're going to mention it right now again. After you go through the security line at an airport, when you touch all those bins that nobody ever washes, go wash your hands or get some hand sanitizer on yourself. First fucking thing after that.
Do not touch your face. Do not touch your eyes. Do not touch your mouth. Just go straight to the bathroom and wash yourself.
Yes. All right. So let's move on from the Chaos Marines to the Obliterators. And whoa, fuck, dude. Like, okay, Obliterators are one of the, I think, coolest ideas that Chaos Space Marines have. And they've taken this really cool idea and put it into excellent, truly A+ fucking models.
Obliterators have had one of the greatest divides between quality of lore and quality of models in all of Games Workshop history, and they're finally on the same level. These are the first good Obliterator models ever, and they're fucking good.
Not only are they fucking good, they're fucking huge. They're the size of Hellbrutes, which is to say the size of Dreadnoughts, and they buffed them big time.
I think they're a little short. They're a little shorter than Hellbrutes, but they're like at least Centurion size. And these are like my favorite bad guys from Doom. Like, they are huge. They have huge guts.
Their tiny little heads are within maws in their large, misshapen shoulders. They have guns sticking out of them. They look amazing. They are the mix of flesh and metal and weapon that Obliterators should have been looking like this entire time. And like I said, they got a big rules buff. They fire more shots. They have more wounds. They do better in combat. These are a nasty fucking unit right here.
Yeah, they're a big improvement over the old Chaos Terminators rolling around in bubblegum.
It's true. And then finally, we have the Venom Crawler, which your fiance told you can't buy.
Because it terrifies her. It is a bit smaller than I thought based on some of the pictures of it.
I think it's Dreadnought size,
yeah, it's probably about Dreadnought size, but I thought at first it was like Defiler sized. Yeah. But it's creepy, it's cool, it's detailed. I like its fluff. That's kind of like a reservoir for demonic energy, so it can kind of hang out with the Master Possessions, and he can just like dole out energy that he just siphons from it. Yep. It looks dope. It looks extremely cool.
I think it's a really cool niche for a vehicle, too. Not only is it effective in combat and in shooting, but it buffs sorcerers nearby, and it helps, and it also buffs nearby demons.
it's a cool way to make like a support vehicle that's distinctly chaos. Because when I think support vehicles, I think, you know, like an Imperial Guard Trojan. Right. I think something that is very logistical and very kind of grounded in reality. And this is extremely not, and it rules.
Yeah, I think it's a great model. It's got like spindly spider claws. It's got a bulbous body. It looks scary. It's a very scary looking thing. And it has nothing similar on the Imperial side, which is my favorite thing about it.
I think leaning into demon engines instead of just having rhinos with spikes on them is really the way to go.
There are some people I've talked to about this that are the exact opposite on that. They want the Chaos Marines to be more Marine-like, which if you don't like the idea of demon engines and new demon characters, please let us know and let us know why. Because this stuff looks so cool. It is so different from the Imperium, and I'm very excited to see how it works on the table.
I mean, I think part of one of the great things about Chaos Space Marines as a faction, though, is if you don't like the demon engines, if you don't like the flesh metal, if you don't like all that stuff, you can convert up Loyalist Marines. Yep. You can use Horus Heresy models. Like you can add as much gross weirdness to Chaos as you want. And yeah, there's no like cleaned up version of an Obliterator unless you have some like good conversion chops, in which case more power to you. But you can kind of pick and choose how weird you want your Chaos Marines to be.
Okay. So that's all of Shadowspear. I'm 100% ordering it on pre-order day. Very excited to get it. Very excited to paint it up and add it to my Primaris Marines. But there's one more model we got to talk about.
And it is not just a biggin, it's a baddin. Because it's Abaddon the Despoiler. And holy fuck.
The War Master has returned. The 80 days have passed, and oh man. And I have it in my notes. Abaddon the Despoiler is back, and we're all fucked because it's bad news for the Imperium, y'all. Real bad news. This guy, he is on par. He's not as tall as Guilliman, but he's like his silhouette is wider than Guilliman's.
Yeah, he's as bulky.
He is a truly amazing model.
Yeah, start to finish, and unusually for a character model, he has actual options in the kit too that really affect how he goes together.
Heads. Yeah.
3 different heads and a cape.
Yeah, he can have the cape or not have the cape. Though I think the cape
pro move always have the cape.
I think the cape on is necessary because it really fills out his silhouette and makes him look a lot more imposing. Abaddon. A lot of people say Abaddon, but I've always said Abaddon. Abaddon is supposed to be the big bad. He is supposed to be.
It's in the name.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the guy that the Imperium fears above all else. And this model truly does justice to the idea of Abaddon. And he's huge. The Talon of Horus is amazing. Drachnien, his sword, is it's actually through or it has negative space in it with the faces on it. It's such a cool model, dude.
And even the face on Drachnien still looks a little goofy like the one from the 90s. Like it's definitely like a nice little touch in there, but the model is just absolutely incredible. And he, for the 90s, the Abaddon model was great. Like I will not argue that. Like it was super good for the time, but
it doesn't
in this day
it doesn't hold a fucking candle to this model though. This model is abjectly terrifying. I think it comes on a 50 or 60 millimeter base. It's huge. And the Abaddon's rules are already really fucking good.
Yeah, they have been for the entire edition.
Yeah, and this model truly gives them justice. I cannot wait to see what people do with it. I know our friend Rob Jones is very excited about picking it up, and he's talked about changing the trophy rack some to look more like the 1990s. Like the old one? Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what people do with that. I am somewhat trepidatious about seeing it on the tabletop because I have a feeling he's just going to cut through my shit like a 1,000-degree knife through butter.
Yeah, no, I know he is, just like that YouTube recommended video. But which of the three heads is your favorite?
The angry head or the gas mask head. The calm head is not my favorite. I like to me Abaddon is he's not this like calm leader of chaos. Like he's very much a Sith who gives in to his emotions and uses his rage and his hatred of the Imperium to fuel his unending war. And I think the angry face definitely works there. And then I just like gas masks, so I thought that was a cool thing.
I mean, I like the kind of scowling angry face just because it is such a nice throwback to the original model. And like it is beautifully expressive, but I really like that becalmed face because it's very similar to the one Horus, which is very intentional. He's supposed to look kind of like a double of Horus, and it's kind of, there's some throwaway lines in the Heresy books that maybe he's closer to Horus than an average Chaos or Black Legion son of Horus Marine is. Maybe he is an actual son of Horus, but
only the Emperor knows.
But if you've actually have you read the Black Legion books?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
well, I listened. Okay, all right. Quick aside. I listened to them audiobooks, and I have realized something about me and audiobooks.
You tune them out.
I don't retain shit.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. I enjoy listening to them, but I do not retain the information that happened in them. So when people talk about all the stuff that happened in these books and all these characters, and I'm just like, who the fuck is that? I know that Kion is the main guy. I know that Abaddon's in there. I know that there's Leor, the Khorne Berserker guy, is in there. Yeah. But like, they're mentioning like these Nurgle characters, and I'm like, when the fuck was a Nurgle character? Like, I remember the Slanesh guy because he's like Kion's like, frenemy or whatever.
Sort of his rival.
But like, bro, I just don't retain shit from audiobooks apparently, because I'm going to have to go pick these up on Kindle because they're out on Kindle now and give them a reread because I want to get back into the Black Legion story now that Black Legion are coming back out. Yeah.
Peter has my 2 hardback copies of them, and when I get them back from him, I'll be doing a reread before the 3rd book comes out in like 2025 or whatever.
Yeah, ADV is not the fastest writer.
Nobody's so good.
Yeah,
but
really
that becalmed head he's got in there is like the Abaddon you kind of are introduced to earlier.
Yeah,
in the
he's not a madman.
No. And I really like that aspect of the character. And yeah, those are books that have come closer to me, making me start an army than anything else. And up until this point, I've been held back because Chaos Space Marine range was a little bit dire.
But not anymore.
But all right, it's been over 45 minutes, and we haven't gotten to talking about the show yet.
Yeah, we got to move on. Okay, so
we are very independent characters right now.
Let's move on to We Make the Call. I got a good one here. It's from Eric Beers via a comment on our website, which is, of course, 40kbadcast.com. He says, hey, fuckos, how do you ensure that your opponent is having the best possible experience in a game if you end up winning? Corollary, how do you win without feeling guilty? Also, for Dan, what is the best bird you've seen? We have a local pileated woodpecker who hangs out around our yard, and it's pretty great. Well, let's go with the bird question first because it's very quick and easy. The best bird I ever saw was probably called, well, it is called, but it is probably the resplendent quetzal, which is a bird that's found in Central and South America. It has these like 3-foot long iridescent green tail feathers. It's got beautiful iridescent green and red and black on its body, and it's huge. It's a type of trogon, cavity nester. They eat large insects and avocados as their main food source, and it truly, truly is a beautiful bird. Runner up there is probably an albatross, mainly just because my dad has never seen one, and I have, so it's the one bird I get to hold over his head as something that I've seen that he hasn't. I saw it on a boating trip off the coast of northern Australia, though, so like it's not exactly an easy bird to see in the Washington, D.C. area, but I got that on him.
I thought albatrosses were supposed to go around your neck, not over your head. Hey, I got a bird story. I went to Quabbin Reservoir, and I saw an osprey swoop into the water and pick up a fish, and it was super cool.
You got real masshole in that first part of that sentence there. Okay, but let's actually address Eric's question. How do you ensure that your opponent is having the best possible experience in a game, even if you end up winning?
Ooh, well, all right. We've talked about this a bit before. Like we had an episode very early on that's called like the low sodium alternative to a good podcast or something.
It's true.
Where we talked about how you deal with like being a salty player, because that's a 2-sided coin. Like you can be a salty winner, or you can be salty might be the wrong word, but you can be shitty if you're winning or losing.
Yeah.
And if you're like really blitzing through him, like you're steamrolling him, there's whoever your opponent is, just kind of dial it back a little bit. Like, yeah, maybe you don't need to pull off that crazy, combo of stratagems and movement rolls to get 35 victory points in one turn. Maybe you don't need to fire your pistols with your Reavers that are in hand-to-hand combat with his Grots before the assault phase. Like, you don't need to add insult to injury. That's a big part of it. These are cases where you're absolutely steamrolling your opponent, but if you're not steamrolling them and you're just kind of like, you're beating them, you can just, it's kind of read the room.
Yeah.
Just read the room.
Yeah.
See how they feel. Like if they're like, oh man, 5 more of my dudes died, whatever. But, all right, cool. You just roll with it, and you might be able to even re-rack if the game is over fast enough. But if they're like very clearly feeling lousy about it, you can just kind of be like, you can just kind of ease the gas off.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of these 40k games happen. A lot of shit happens in the first turn, and if your first turn is amazing and it looks bad right off the bat, especially if it's in a casual game, just ease off the gas. Maybe make some dumb moves and help the other person have fun. But I think the main thing to do in a situation is just be cool, man. Just be friendly, be open, talk to the other player. Like, let's just hang out and make it more of a hang than a competitive, game. And I think that if you do something like that, then you'll be okay down the road.
Yeah, and if you're in a tournament situation, like you can still, and let's say like it's a serious tournament sort of situation, like not a friendly or casual tournament, but like a real cutthroat sort of thing. Like you can still be as gracious and polite and kind as you can be, and just still beat them into the dirt and just be like, hey, sorry, man, better luck next time. Good game. Just maintain that coolness throughout every step of the game, and you should be all right.
Right, and like honestly, close games are always good games, pretty much. Like everybody has
they're
fun.
always the best ones.
So if you, again, you can come off the gas. You can, if your first turn is amazing, pull back and maybe don't give them such a hard time on turn 2. Let them come back a little bit. Let them get back into it some. And you can do that. That's fine. You don't have to tell your opponent that you're doing that. You can just keep your fucking mouth shut and be like, take it easy on them for a turn, see what happens. And that's a cool thing to do in a casual game because you're keeping your opponent engaged. So yeah, I think that answers your question, Eric. Thanks for sending it in. These questions that come up off our website, kind of didn't know it was a thing, but you can do it. You can leave comments on our website at 40kbadcast.com. So please do if you happen to visit.
I don't think they show up. Like I don't think they're visible to people outside the website. But yeah, we get emails about them, so we can still see them.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to our first segment of the show, and we're calling it Where's the Love? Just like Fergie and Will.i.am and the other guy, we're asking where the love is, and specifically we're asking where's the love in the Space Marine Codex. And what we're going to do is we're going to have an ongoing series here where we talk about, we're maybe not going to do it on every episode, but we'll pick back up with it as things go, like releases come out. Like the whole new Space Marine stuff is coming out this time. So expect the Chaos one coming up soon. But what we're talking about is units that are underrepresented or misrepresented in the Codex. And these are units that, their models are old, their fluff is non-existent, their rules are bad, or they're redundant or, made redundant by a different model or unit in the same range. And we want to talk about those and just highlight those for a minute and talk about perhaps what we'd like to do to make them better. And so we've each chosen 3. And Campbell, I invite you first to tell me which unit you would like the Games Workshop designers to give a little more love to.
So it's weird because Space Marines are getting so much attention right now, and they've been getting so much attention for quite some time. But there's still some, every time you update something, you're leaving something behind.
Well, I think that you could argue that there's a whole current range of Space Marines that is getting no attention. Like all the small Marines, basically.
Yeah, but we talked about recently that, they're kind of figuring out where they can flesh them out and replace them as things go on. And for this, I would have said Scouts first off, because the models are not super great. The metal ones are much better. They're old. Their rules are, some of the rules are pretty good. They're very well represented just as like cheap troops options, but they're basically being replaced by the new Vanguard Marines, like start to finish. Like there's not really much space for them anymore. And we've already talked about Vanguard Marines a lot. So instead, I'm going to move on to Bikers.
Okay.
Because I always, the Space Marine Biker kit was my first plastic Warhammer kit. And I still find that cover art to be so evocative. I'm not talking when it's like a photo, but like the hand-painted art of just a Space Marine motorcycle, like driving at the camera with like this vanishing point way behind it and some other bikes coming in behind it. And it is so
I know exactly
iconic.
what piece of art you're talking about.
Yeah, it's such a good piece of art, and that is such an iconic unit to me too, because those bikes draw so heavily on the Judge Dredd influence in Warhammer, and they are so silly and so Warhammer because you're fighting on a motorcycle with guns on it, and that's what you're fighting with, and that's really hard to aim. It's so dumb, but I love the look of them so much. But the model it's not very good. It has not been very good for a very long time because it's got like really bad seams in the middle. The whole thing just has never really gone together very well. The Marines on top are always very awkwardly posed and like in a very unergonomic position. Like any occupational therapist will tell you that you should not be sitting like that. But I feel like they need to be updated in some capacity for Primaris Marines because Little Marines aren't getting any more love. We're pretty sure of that. But I feel like that archetype should be represented in Primaris Marines in some way.
So, first off, I agree with you. I would love to see something new happen with bikes. Thing is, though, riding a bike in a war zone, a motorcycle in a war zone, is this very stupid thing. And there's no way that this is an effective form of combat. And this is coming from somebody who rides a fucking motorcycle all the goddamn time. Like, it's snowing today, so I didn't ride into work today, but I rode into work yesterday. And I don't like machine guns on your handlebars. I can see that because you can aim that and have that be a thing. But still, it's going to be inaccurate as shit. Like machine guns on a fucking plane is, Yeah. But there's so many problems with the idea of using a motorcycle in a war zone. It's not okay. A four-wheeled or a tracked vehicle can go almost anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Motorcycles on dirt bikes, they can go almost anywhere, but the rider has to be like is fully involved in piloting the motorcycle. There's no there's no like I can pause to pull out a gun and shoot somebody with it if you're going at 30 miles an hour over rocky or rubble or whatever. Like that's not going to happen. It's you're going to crash.
Yeah, it's not a stable platform.
No, so I think, I do like the idea, and the models, like the Ravenwing models, I love for Dark
the
Angels.
Ravenwing Knights especially are gorgeous.
Like, there is a lot of cool stuff with bikes. The new Gene Stealer cult bikers are absolutely fucking amazing. Like, I would love to see new shit like that. I think it would probably end up being Grav-based because of the way Primaris is going. But it's like... and one more thing, like the way Space Marine bikers are set up, the bodies, they're set up with their legs out front, like riding a cruiser, which is like the worst. Well, okay, it's not the worst ergonomic position, but it is the least like controllable way to sit on a motorcycle where like my motorcycle that I have is like a standard configuration where my feet are under my body and I'm like sitting on top of it and I've got a very good position to lean my body around and move it around. And the more front you get, like on the sport bikes, you get even more control with your body. But on a cruiser with your legs all the way out in front of you, you have less control over what you're doing with your body, that is to say. So it's like it makes the least amount of sense to mount a rider like that. Now you look at the Ravager jet bikes from the Dark Eldar kit.
That's closer to what you're talking
crouched
about.
on top like that. That is what makes sense to me as far as a rider goes. But that's again, I agree with you. I think more bikes would be cool, even though it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, but they're also they're not just iconic for Space Marines, but they're also like iconic for Ravenwing. Because like right now, if you're a Dark Angels player, I don't know what you actually do for Deathwing and Ravenwing if you want to keep things Primaris. Like, you could paint your Inceptors black, I guess, and maybe I guess you could paint your Aggressors bone white, but there's not really the lore backing that up. And I feel like this would be a nice way to reintroduce that for Dark Angels and also give that unit to regular Primaris.
Well, if you're a Dark Angels player, I don't know what you're doing in the first place. Okay, I'm going to move on to my first choice. So my original first choice. I'm calling an audible here, Campbell.
Okay.
My original first choice was Terminators.
Yeah.
And it's basically about the models. Terminators just are smaller than Primaris Marines, and they need a model update. The rules now with the bolter drills and how storm bolters are actually fucking rad. With 4 shots at 24 inches, it's like they're not. They make sense to bring them to a game. But what doesn't make sense to bring to a game, especially with the onset of infiltrators, is Reavers. And this is coming from a guy. I have 2 squads of Reavers, 2 squads of 5, and they never see the battlefield. And I just, now that infiltrators around, I do not see a purpose for them. There needs to be something, and the models are fantastic. I love the models. They are, I think, amongst the coolest looking Primaris models so far, but there's just nothing. There's just no reason to have them. Their guns are okay. Assault 2 bolters, okay,
but
cool.
Vanguard get those,
yeah,
and Vanguard get better ones.
Their combat options are no AP. They get an extra attack, but fuck it, whatever. Like that's not. They're just not good, and they're not troops. They're elites. Yet they have fewer options than the troops that are supposed to do the same thing and aren't as good at that. And yeah, I guess they can deep strike if they want, but like the infiltrators can infiltrate. Like it's
just the same thing.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to bring them on the tabletop right now.
Yeah, and next, like the next cool thing you could say is they have those shock grenades that make it so a unit can't fire Overwatch, but they can't throw those out of deep strike because they only have 6 inches of range, and suppressors do the same thing more reliably.
Yeah. So what is the point of Reavers right now?
I think they don't have one, but you could give them one by making their knives AP1 or something.
Yeah, that would make
strength AP1.
That would make them
something to make them actually a close combat unit because Primaris Marines don't really have a close combat unit aside from some beat stick characters.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what to do with those guys. Like they're just not that good, and they cost too much for what they do, which is nothing. So maybe that should be free. I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. Games Workshop, come on, give us a reason to take Reavers. Give us something to take Reavers. Okay, what you got next?
I'd say Death Company.
Oh, okay.
Because Death Company are similar to bikes, very iconic to me. When I think Blood Angels, I think Death Company, and they're extremely cool, but they don't really have any sort of I don't see how they gel with Primaris Marines at all. And this is thing forward. Like I know rules wise, they're apparently pretty okay right now, and model wise, they're still these very hyper detailed, tons of bling, tons of garbage hanging off them everywhere. Models they're pretty good models. They've aged rather well, but I don't understand how they really fit in with the army fluff wise now. And I feel like it's a unit you really need to bring to the Primaris fold as you move things forward to make them make sense. Because if they go, oh, actually the gene seed flaw has been corrected, all the Death Company are dead. Okay, that's great for the Blood Angels. That's great for Brother Aurelius, who's never gonna, go murder crazy anymore. But that takes away such a big part of the actual heart of the army and the soul of the army that has gone back to the 90s. And I feel like they need to have some sort of update up there. Whether that is all Reavers are Death Company now or something like that. You either need to incorporate them into the lore for Primaris Marines in some way or provide some new equivalent model just to keep that imagery and keep that spirit alive. Because, some things are going to get left by the wayside. Some things will be abandoned as armies update, but that is so core to who Blood Angels are to me that I feel like they need to be represented in some way going forward. Yeah,
okay. I agree with you. I think that they are, the whole Blood Angels don't suffer from the Black Rage anymore as part of the Primaris Marines. Yeah, I think that was a mistake, with the background writing. The part of the thing about Blood Angels is that they are they have the fatal flaw. Yeah,
and you need that flaw to give them that character. It's so important who they are.
I'm with you on that. All right, my next unit is the oft maligned Assault Marine. The poor Assault Marine. Assault Marines in 40k right now are god awful.
And they're the best they've ever been.
Nah, dude.
It's amazing.
In 4th and 5th edition, when Blood Angels Assault Marines, when they had 2 Meltaguns per squad and an Inferno pistol, were fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
Because they could deep strike in.
They also got and Furious Charge and stuff like that. And Descent of Ain. They had some good rules back then.
And I used Assault Marines a lot in my old Raven Guard list in 4th and 5th edition. And they weren't terrible. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible.
No, I've used Assault Marines in every edition of the game, and I have not once even been whelmed.
No, well, in this edition, especially in 8th edition, they are complete trash. Just no reason to take them. And Vanguard veterans sit in the same zone, where they're just terrible. They are supposed to be hard hitting, dangerous assault units, and instead they are wastes of points in space.
even if you give them a lot of equipment and stuff like that, it just never really works.
No.
I remember taking a 10-man squad of Vanguard veterans with High Marshal Helbrecht and the Fight Twice stratagem, and they killed like 2 Custodies on the charge.
Yeah,
like they just bounce off.
They
everything.
need something to. They need something to do. They need something, and I don't think Games Workshop has figured out how to do Assault with Primaris yet.
No,
they clearly haven't.
Yeah, there's just not the right mix of quality and quantity of attacks to really make most Marine melee options work.
All right, you're number 3.
All right, my number 3 is going to be Tech Marines and all their kind of affiliated stuff. Because
man, I fucking love Tech Marines. I want a Primaris Tech Marine so goddamn bad. Oh my god.
Right,
what if they come out with a Primaris Tech Marine and he's in Gravis armor? What if he's
that was my thought too. I want like this really big hulking dude. I want him to look like he's in the Hulkbuster armor. Like I want this big hulking dude with like big metal arms sticking out everywhere. Because there's been so much great Tech Marine art over decades.
Fuck yeah.
They're all in the Black Templar Codex in 4th.
Oh, I'm so pumped up right now. I don't even know why. God damn it.
This awesome, like, beefed up Tech Marine. They already have, like, the segmented plate on the Gravis armor now that all Tech Marines usually have.
Yes.
And the models they've had have been pretty all right, but they haven't been updated to Primaris yet. And I think it's a very cool opportunity to update not just their look, but also their functionality. Because, they can fix vehicles. That's dope. There's vehicles to fix. But also, like, what if they could buff units nearby with, like, Auspex scans, or they had some sort of portable artillery sort of thing?
Yeah, or they give us a character with a actually good shooting weapon for Primaris Marines.
Yeah, for once. Because, they have the Thunderfire cannon, which, although I love using it to dunk on Rob every time we play, never made sense to me as a Space Marine weapon. It never really did. It's like, especially when you could like put it in a fucking drop pod. Why would you drop artillery anywhere? That's so stupid. You want it shooting from turn 1.
It's fucking radical.
And also the model for the Thunderfire cannon looks good from a distance and is hot garbage to assemble. Yeah. There's a reason I've used a 2nd edition Thud gun for every Thunderfire cannon I've ever used, because it only has like 6 parts. But I want Tech Marines to be fleshed out and like updated to kind of meet with the new Primaris look. And also I want them to have like dope servitors. Yeah. I love that. Like when there's
servitors that actually do something as opposed to the current servitors.
Yeah, the current servitors, which cost like 3 points a man, they're incredibly cheap.
But they don't do
also,
like the old servitors that had the servo arms at least helped to repair things. Like if you got +1 wound for every servitor within 2 inches that has a repair arm or a servo arm for like when you're healing something, with my engine sears, I'd fucking take 3 every single time. So I'm rolling D3 plus 3 wounds. Like, that tank got fucked up. Not anymore. Now it's cool. We're repairing it. Like that would be tight as shit. But right now it's just like you get a shitty power fist attack.
For that you're never gonna ever hit with because you're toughness 3 with 4-up save. Like I don't think you need to change the models for servitors at all. Just make them in plastic and have them help the Tech Marine fix stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. We already have 2 librarians. We have 140 lieutenants.
We have a few
a bunch of captains. Like we have a chaplain. It's time. Games Workshop, give us our fucking Tech Marines and put them in Gravis armor and make them cool. And okay. All right.
I want my buff mechanic.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my last one. It's drop pods. And I'm just asking for one thing with fucking drop pods. Let me put Primaris Marines in drop pods, please.
Okay. All right. So that same White Dwarf that is allegedly from March, but I thought was from February, has a bit of art from one of the new Warhammer Adventures books. And there's a drop pod and there's a bunch of Primaris Marines standing around it. And I'm like, they can use it in the book, so why can't they use it in the game?
That's the thing. Like, drop pods are such an iconic part of the way Space Marines are deployed. Like, from orbit. Crashing into the earth, a torpedo full of Space Marines that slams into the enemy lines. They all jump out and start firing away. Like that shit is so fucking cool. Like
and also you
want
don't
to
need
do
to
that.
update the model.
No, you don't really need to update the model. Oh boy, man, I will if they make drop pods usable, I will go back and edge highlight my fucking drop pods. They are dry brushed right now. I will edge highlight those fuckers. I will do it.
Yeah,
I will do it for the Emperor. It'll drive me insane, but I'll fucking do it.
Because that's the thing. Well, that's why I would.
I painted the interiors of my drop pods too, right?
Oh, you dumb motherfucker!
Yeah, I did.
I would just weather and chip the fuck out of it and do a bare minimum of edge highlighting because that's how I do vehicles. But the thing is also with drop pods, like if you were to update them quote unquote for Primaris Marines, you wouldn't need to change a damn thing about the kit because you can't say rhinos are for Primaris Marines because you still have this like dinky little regular Marine sticking out the hatch of it. And that's true of every vehicle in the range except for drop pods.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing where, it would be fucking radical if I could put Hellblasters in drop pods.
Yeah,
like that would be amazing on the table. But for me, it's more of a theme thing. It's more of that is how, to me, Space Marines are deployed. Like they get told about the mission, and so they don't like quietly land on the planet they're going and then walk to the mission objective. No, they slam into the fucking mission objective from space in goddamn drop pods.
How can I shoot my troops to the battlefield with a big gun? The answer is drop pods.
Right. So I really want to see drop pods somehow added back to 40, because right now you never see them because they're not good. They're too expensive, and they can't carry good units, so nobody ever uses them. But I'd love to see something like that come back to the fold. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be doing more of these as time goes on. We're not going to have like a set schedule for them. I have a pretty strong inclination that we're going to talk about Chaos soon, just because we're in the middle of a Chaos release. But if you have anything you'd like to talk about regarding this, if you want to suggest a unit that needs some love in any way, or an army or a codex or whatever, please write to us. 40k or contact at 40kbadcast.com is our email address, or you can comment on our website, or you can add us on Twitter or whatever. We'll talk about that more at the end of the show. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts about this, because I know that everybody's got a different perspective on things, and I'm super interested in it.
This is definitely the sort of thing where everybody has some unit they wish was, brought back up to the fold. So
we're doing. We're inviting people to tell us how they would fix Tau. Okay,
I have strong opinions.
We're gonna peek behind the kimono real quick. We're on this Discord with a bunch of people we know, and just about every day, the how to fix Tau conversation gets started, and it's
like I never left Daka Daka.
It's so stupid. So little inside baseball for you guys. Okay, so our last segment before we hit Factor Fan Fiction, all that bullshit, is kind of a shorter segment because we're talking about Nova Open registration. It happened, and it's pretty much sold out now for everything. So
it sold out very quickly.
I think like almost all the 40k events sold out within 8 hours, if I remember correctly from what Mike told me, which is insane because Nova Open doesn't usually sell out.
No. But
he did this time. Holy fuck.
Yeah, well, 40K is bigger. I mean, wargaming as a whole, but 40K especially is bigger than it's ever really been, as far as I can gather. And every event is like this. Like everything at AdeptCon sold out super fast. Everything here sold out super fast. And all right, I'm gonna pitch a question to you. Do you think this is like the last year Nova's going to be in this venue? Because I imagine they're going to need more space soon.
Mike told me about like contracts with the Hyatt and stuff, and we're coming up either next year or this year as a contract year, so it might move sometime soon. I think should. I think there needs to be a venue with more space because why not? More people want to come to it. I'm sure the wait lists are enormous this time. If I have a deal with Mike. If he ever listens to an episode of the 40k Badcast, he can come on the 40k Badcast and talk to us about Nova Open. But he says he doesn't like listening to podcasts. So as long as he doesn't listen to our podcast, he's not coming on the fucking show. But these are great questions that maybe I'll ask him next time I hang out with him. But yeah, like Nova Open is crazy huge now, and we fortunately got to register. You didn't do Supernova, right?
No, I did. I missed out on the. All right, so there was a first batch of Supernova badges just for people who had them before. Damn. And I went to it, and it was like, already sold out. And I'm like, but it's not even 8 o'clock yet. Yeah, it's sold in seconds. But weirdly, the second batch of them didn't sell out so fast. I was able to actually like get into the narrative, check out, then go back and be like, I should get a Supernova bag. Went out. Ooh, got it. Cool. Check out. Got it. I should probably go to the preview event. There's still tickets for that too. Went back, checked out, and I was like, really? Is there a problem here? And then I just see like this deluge of messages in like Discord of people being like, this sold out, I can't get into this. No. Yeah. So I feel very lucky that I got everything I wanted and then some.
Well, the Supernova bag, to those who don't know, is this amazing swag bag that Nova gives out.
It's the swag bag to end all swag bags.
It's like the upgrade swag bag. It's the premium swag bag, if you will, but it's so it's 100% worth it. It's got a ton of amazing stuff in it, and Campbell and I were lucky enough to grab it this time around. I'm very, very excited to see what goes in this time. But we both got back into our 40k narrative event. This will be the 6th year in a row for me in this event.
Mm-hmm. It'll be my third.
And oh man,
fourth.
We've already been talking with all of our Warlord Council. I know that everybody's super, super excited about coming back for, and this will be the final year of this narrative.
Oh, wait, no, this will be my fourth Nova. Okay, sorry, I'm still I'm still a few steps behind here. But yeah, this will be the final year of this storyline because it keeps getting retconned when we fuck it up.
Yeah, we gotta get Joe back on the show, and so he can talk about the way the story is going, and have him give us a preview of some of the things that are going to be coming at us. I am so fucking excited to do this. And listen, folks, if you didn't get into the event that you wanted to get into, you can still come to the con if you get a convention access pass, and you might not be able to play in the events, but you might be able to get pickup games, and you might be able to hang out. So
there's no shortage of like tables that are just
at night
between events or at night, especially
like the gaming hall is empty except for the 30k narrative and the 40k narrative, and there are literally hundreds of tables open to play games on. So if you get a convention access pass, you can just come and do that. That is an option for you to do. And if you can't get into the events that you want to get into, I really strongly suggest you do that and come and hang out and have a good time. But Campbell, let's talk about what we're going to be doing. We have decided to, and I just want you guys, our listeners, to maybe not tell people about this too much. Because I don't want anybody to get mad at me. But we're going to have a 40k Badcast unofficial event at Nova Open.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough that this is not official or endorsed by anyone whatsoever.
No, this is a completely unofficial event. And I'm really, really excited about how we titled this one. It's called the Badcast Beatdown 2019 Sports versus Anime.
You can probably guess who's on what team here.
All right, so let me get you the details before we talk about how excited we are. But it's the Badcast Beatdown 2019. It's going to be on Thursday, August 29th, 2019 at 2 p.m. Eastern in the afternoon, where it'll be at Table 69 at the Nova Open Tabletop Wargaming Convention. This is Table 69 in the 40K tables. Who is Badcast listeners and your friends? And what is it? Well, you pick a side and you dress up appropriately, and you find an opponent and you play a game. Try to play someone you don't know. Results don't matter. Just have some fun. So what we're doing is we're just trying to bring our listeners together and have a bunch of casual games between people. And because we always like to couch things as bad boys versus fuck boys or vice versa, this time it's sports versus anime. So if you think of yourself more as a fuckboy, grab your favorite player's jersey and come on down to the Badcast Beatdown 2019. And if you think...
Meanwhile, if you think yourself more of a bad boy, find your finest silk anime shirt. Yes. Hopefully one with like Rurouni Kenshin on it, and wear that down there.
Yes.
Again, you do not need to go in like fucking full cosplay outfit here or anything of the sort. If you do, more fucking power to you. I'll have my Naruto headband on.
I'll probably have my Naruto headband on also. But yeah, if somebody comes in like full fucking pads, like football pads.
No, that's the thing. That's how we'll tier it. If someone comes in like full fucking pads and someone comes in like dressed like Vash the Stampede, of course they're the ones who are going to play each other.
Yeah, so again, sports versus anime. It's the Thursday of the Nova Open at Table 69. And all it is we're just going to meet up, hang out, and then get a game with a stranger is the idea. Though I think, Campbell, you and I are probably going to play each other again.
Of course. This is tradition.
Because I need revenge after last year's drubbing.
Well, it is with a heavy heart that I must say that my knights are banned from like every event at Adepticon, so I'm not bringing them with me.
No, you actually so the Nova narrative, we have one more year to win this one, and I might strongly suggest that you bring your knights to this because your knight list is pretty, fucking brutal. And we'll see what it looks like after, because I think there will be at least one big FAQ in between now and Nova Open, because Big FAQ traditionally comes out after Adepticon. So we'll see what happens with that. But I have a feeling that your knights are still going to be good.
they're probably still going to be all right.
I was actually thinking that I would bring my Steel Legion instead of my Raven Guard, because my Steel Legion is somewhat more competitive. But I might soup it up for Nova and try to actually win games this time.
I mean, I was kind of hoping my Ultramarines would be ready for Nova. I'm up to like 750 points of them, but we'll see where it's at. We'll see if Marines are actually good by then.
You never know.
Spoiler alert, they probably won't be, but who knows?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about the Badcast Beatdown. If y'all have any questions about it, feel free to hit us up. Like, it's just going to be a casual thing where a bunch of idiots dressed up in sports attire or anime attire meet up and play a game. And again, it's unofficial. So
110% unofficial.
So okay, let me. We're gonna break this down for you real quick. This is unofficial, which means it's free, but you need to have a convention access pass if you're coming to Nova. So if you're gonna be there, you need to get a convention access pass. So it's not functionally free. You'll have to, and I think the convention access pass for one day is only like $30 or something. So if you're in the area and you just feel like coming, that's great. Do it. But again, this is unofficial event, and please do us a favor. Try not to tell Mike Brandt about this. Just don't, because I don't want to deal with having to explain it to him. So please.
That's very fair.
Yeah, just don't.
He'd be like, so wait, Dan, what's anime?
I don't know if he likes anime or not. He's never talked about it to me, which is probably one of the reasons why we're friends.
Shame about me then.
Yeah. So again, Thursday of Nova, Badcast Beatdown 2019, sports versus anime. I really hope to see you listeners there.
All right, awesome. And we'll have more details about it coming up, like how many points these games probably will be.
Actually, no. Like I was going to say like 1,500.
I think 1,500 would be good.
Everybody just bring a 1,500 point list. But like if you want to bring a 2,000 point list and you find somebody who wants to play a 2,000 point game, that's fine. Like, fuck it, dude.
Oh, totally.
This is less of an event, more of a meetup, you know?
Yeah, it is more of a meetup. I just kind of want to make sure that people aren't going like, I only have a 750 list and a 1250 list, so better take your pick. I don't want any ambiguity here. I just want to like have
let's call it 1,500.
1,500 point
1,500.
Badcast Beatdown. Nova, be there and be square.
Sports versus anime. I love it. I'm very excited to see what you idiots come up with. Okay, let's move on to our marquee segment, Fact or Fan Fiction. Campbell, I am extremely up right now. I want you to keep me up with like a really cool, fun bit of Fact or Fan Fiction.
All right. Well, I got a bit inspired by some of the chaos stuff that's been swirling around, so I found a nice chaos-appropriate story here. Inquisitor Thrax cleared his throat and dictated the last section of his report. The mutants have been eradicated throughout the chapter. The tainted officers have been slain. The chapter master chose to take his own life rather than face his deserved fate. The creatures he summoned have been banished or have returned to the warp. From past experience, we know that the link, once broken, must needs be established from our side of the warp gates. That will not happen again in this place. My administration of justice has made sure of that. The unfortunate lapses of the last months have been cleansed. Full casualty reports are attached. I can now confidently claim that under their new and morally pure corps of officers, the reformed Grey Slayers chapter of the Legions Astartes will prove as loyal in future as they did in the past. Hail the Emperor! Thrax, Inquisitor Ordinary, this day of etc., etc. Make a good copy and then return so that I may seal the dispatch. Yes, Lord Inquisitor. Thrax sat down at the former chapter master's desk. He had a mind to keep it for his own. The workmanship had a certain naive charm. The inlay work was particularly fine for a backward world. Such intricate patterns, such a pleasing arrangement of woods and tech plastics. One could almost believe that it all meant something. His finger idly traced across the surface, following the line of a swirl and loop. In warp space, something stirred. Its name had almost been used. Soon the word would be used, and the way opened. The summoning was happening. It could feel the drawing together of power and intent. Thrax was thinking hard, and now his finger barely moved. The chapter master had been weak, a fool. But the power he had tapped, properly used in the service of the Emperor, could it not make him the best, the greatest of all Inquisitors? His finger moved across the desktop again, following the inlay. Soon. Thrax reached the end of the tech plastic line. He half turned towards something in the corner of his eye, and then he knew. Now! There was a knock on the door. The scribe had returned. Inquisitor Thrax, I have the copy of your report, Lord. His voice filled with doubt. Inquisitor Thrax? My lord? In a rush of mandibles and heaving flesh, Inquisitor Thrax feasted.
Okay. Wow. This is a tough one, man, because that's actually sounds like it was well written. Maybe a little purple, but definitely somebody who's written something before. There were no anime references.
Not this time.
There were no self-insert characters, I don't think. I haven't heard of the Grey Slayers, but it sounds like it could be an actual, chapter that's Games Workshop came up with. So I'm saying it, man. I think it's fact.
It is. It is the second page of the old Realm of Chaos Slaves to Darkness book.
Oh, nice. Yes.
I was going through it the other day, just kind of like looking at just some artwork in there, and I'm like, this fucking rips. I want to read this on the air.
I was I kept thinking that the inlay he was tracing would turn out to be like SpongeBob or something.
Oh, I was expecting it to be a dick. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's good, man. Some fact. We haven't had fact in a while.
No, we haven't.
Nice.
We haven't.
I like it.
And I figured it was like just off color enough that it might not be, because there's
honestly, what gave it away was the quality.
It's a little weird.
Like the lack of grammatical errors.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man. That was good. That was entertaining too. It wasn't funny, but it's sometimes it's just nice to dip your toe into some 40k lore a little bit.
Yeah, no, you made a point to me before that I don't have to try to be funny all the time, and I don't listen usually, but this time I did.
All right, well, let's get out of here. Let's talk about some plugs before we go.
Dude,
our email.
We got some hella plugs this week.
Yeah, right. Our email is contact@40kbadcast.com. We want to hear from you about where's the love, rather. We want to hear from you about We Make the Call. We always do more questions for that. We want to see your pictures of your models. Get at us. We love connecting with our listeners. Both of us have been sending a lot of email in the last couple of weeks back and forth with our email.
I'm seeing red emails in the inbox. I'm like, oh shit, Dan actually uses
well,
the
now
inbox
I have it connected to my phone now. So when we get emails, it will actually, I will know about it now. I'm not in the dark. So we've been connecting a lot. I want to talk to everybody. I love this hobby. I love our community. So get at us there. You can also find us on social media. Twitter is the one that both of us use the most. I am at DB_sleazy. He is at BrotherSRM. And we tweet about dumb shit quite a bit.
I'd say I've been tweeting about Motorhead and JoJo's. What about you?
I don't remember what I was tweeting about. I think I retweeted something political earlier today, though.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot too. But I'd also like to do a little shout out to at Sons of Angron on Twitter.
Yes.
Because every week or so we just have very wholesome bread chat because we both make bread pretty often.
He also invited us to watch the stream of his graduation from college. So I think that's on March 19th.
He didn't invite us. He invited you twice.
Oh, that's right. He did invite me twice. I think it's on March 19th, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope his last name starts with A, so we don't have to sit through too much of it, though.
Well, it's clearly his last name's Angron. We know this.
It's true. Okay, you're on Tumblr too, Cam2D on Tumblr, where I think you post most of your models.
I do when I actually take pictures of them. Although my Instagram is where I just post fuck, here's a picture of one of my models, where I don't even set up the whole photo backdrop, because I have not done that in a minute.
Neither have I.
But yeah, I'm on Instagram as Crumbs McLums if you want to see a bunch of pictures of my cats and occasional pictures of my Warhammer models.
Yeah, we also sell T-shirts and T-shirt adjacent items. And oh, buddy, we got a new one. It's the we talked about it last episode. The Cult of the Swole Armed Emperor shirt. It is out. You can buy it. It is a tank top. And man, have our listeners been sending in some really good pictures of themselves flexing in their Cult of the Swole Armed Emperor tank tops.
One word of warning, it does run kind of big. I got a small and I'm swimming in it. So order a size down or so, because it's big. It's big. It's got room for all four of your incredibly swole arms. But I also did
I'm wearing mine at Adepticon, by the way.
Oh, of course, I'm bringing mine too. I'm just going to run it through the dryer a few more times and hopefully it'll shrink enough to fit me. I loved making this shirt. The design, I think, came out super well in the print. And on our Patreon, which we'll plug in a second, I put out an article pretty recently where I went over the design process, where I share some sketches and early drafts of it. So if you want to check that out, we are on Patreon at
Well, before we go to Patreon, give them the link to where they can buy our shirts first.
Oh, yeah, I guess that'd probably be good. So if you go to shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast, you can get all of our cool shirts and all the different styles and colors. We got bad shirts, we got good shirts, we don't got good shirts, we got perfect shirts.
We do.
And this incredibly swole shirt. But if you want to check us out on Patreon and give us your support over there, is patreon.com/40k Badcast, where we are so fucking close to 100 patrons,
we're so
which...
close.
Oh, I don't even know what we'll do for that. I want to do something special for that, whether it's just for them or for everybody, but I'm very excited to be up to that.
We recently released a subscriber-only episode about where we talk about the three most influential albums in our lives of music, not photo albums. But I already made that joke in that podcast. So please go ahead, subscribe. We have 3 levels. You'll see it on the website. It's fine. Subscribe, support us, please. We love you. Oh, we're going to be coming out with something this month. We're going to be talking about comic books and the comic book collections or comic books that we really, really like. I'm a huge comic book fan, so I'm very excited about that show. I know you're pretty excited about it too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, get in on it and listen to our shit. That rhymes. Hey, how about that?
Oh, nice.
Okay, before we get out of here, it is tradition that you send us out on an inspirational quote. So please, Campbell, read me your wisdom.
I'll read you my plagiarized wisdom that I copied off the notes of the guy next to me here. A wise man learns from the deaths of others.
He certainly does. We're the 40k Badcast. We're bad at 40k. You can too, and we'll see you in the next cartoon.